In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the window regulator with motor on this Ford F-450. Let's get started. Let's start at the top. We'll pop out this trim panel here. Use a plastic trim tool and pry it away. It just has a couple push clips on the back side, and these two are all that's holding this in, so set it aside. Now let's remove the window switches. Pop that up, also with a plastic trim tool. There we go. Once you take it out, on the back side you'll see two electrical connectors. Remove those and set the switch panel aside. Underneath the grab handle you'll see this trim piece. Remove it. This is just a cover for these two 7mm bolts. Remove those as well. At the bottom of the door panel you'll see two more 7mm screws. Remove those as well. Now pull up on the door panel, but make sure you don't go too far with it because the mirror switch, if you have power mirrors, will still be connected. There we go. Slowly pull it away, flip it around, and unplug the mirror switch. Now you can pull the door panel away. Now remove the vapor barrier. For us, it looks like someone has already been here and taped it. Now turn the ignition into the on position and reconnect your window switch. This way we can bring the window, for me it's going to go up. If yours is up, well, you're going to have to bring it down so that we can access the mounting bolts that hold the window onto the regulator. We want to bring it, well, I need to bring it up so that it's right about at this level. Basically, there's it's a nut on this side and another mounting nut right here through this opening. So it looks like right here I can get to it, so that's perfect. Leave it here, unplug the switch so that there's no way this window can operate, and turn off the ignition. The 10mm mounting nut that sits right here is what we're going to have to take off, and if you follow this arm there will be another one through that opening, but we'll do this one first. Take it off all the way. You can reach it through this larger cutout here so you don't drop it inside the door. There it is. Now to remove the window from the regulator, you're going to have to pull the regulator arm out, but obviously hold on to the glass because otherwise it'll drop down. Pull that stud out. You're going to have to do both kind of at the same time. There we go. Now bring the window all the way up. There we go. I'm going to hold pressure on it so it doesn't fall down, and I'm going to use some painter's tape and tape the window up so that it goes, the tape will go above the door and it will hold the window in place. Of course, make sure your glass is somewhat clean so the tape can stick. Once you put one piece on here, be careful, but usually you can let go. So you can put on a second piece, and on a glass of this size, I'm going to put on at least 3. You want it held on tight. Now there are 6 10mm bolts, well, 4 bolts, 2 nuts that we have to remove to get the window regulator and motor assembly off of the door. You don't actually have to completely remove any of them unless you want to, but all of these mounting holes will have some slots, so once you free them up, break them free, back them out a few turns, you can slide the entire unit up and everything will push right through those holes. Take this, slide it this direction, and down. So that's unhooked. And now you want to take this entire assembly, slide it up through. Keep in mind the motor is still connected. We can't disconnect it until it comes out because you can't reach it. There we go. Now with it down, you can see the wire for the window motor. So you can reach in here, press the tab, disconnect the harness. Try to keep it over here so you can have easy access to it when it comes to plugging it back in, because this is also where we're going to have to plug it in. And you can tilt it in whichever direction you need to remove this. And there it is. If you need to swap any of the mounting bolts or mounting nuts over to your new regulator, now is the time, since you can leave them partially threaded in and just install the new one with them. But most likely your new one will come with new hardware already inserted here. So if anything, you'll have to back it out a few turns so you can actually create this gap between the regulator and the flange of the bolt. So now, if you had your new regulator assembly, slide it in the same way it came out. And because my hand is right here, I'm just gonna hook this right into its slot. That way at least this side is somewhat secured and it won't move around. Tighten up one of these. Okay, so now this won't move and I can focus on putting in the rest of it. However, before you fully install it, don't forget you have to connect it to the electrical connector. This is gonna be a little tight in here, but just make sure when you plug it in, make sure it clicks. There we go. Now you can raise this up, watch your fingers because it does operate kind of like scissors. It will pinch you. Line all of these bolts up, slide it through and down. And there you go. Now let's tighten everything up. Doesn't matter where you start, just make sure it's all tight. Now carefully remove the tape off of the window so we can slide it down. Just like I said, carefully, because the more tape you remove, the less it's going to be held on here. So I'm going to apply pressure outwards. This is actually going to press it up against all the seals, and it will be a lot less likely to want to slide as I get this tape out of here. Last piece of tape. Okay, keep pressure on it. Now you can grab it at the top so it's a lot more controlled. When you slide it down, make sure you slide it straight as if it was going down with the regulator. It's easy to accidentally kink it and get it jammed into one of the sides. So slide it down as even as you can. And once it reaches the regulator, which for you, if your regulator, your new regulator, might be in a different position, you either might have to actuate it up or down, or if you can see it, just get the window hooked into it before you operate it. So at this point, try to line up those two mounting studs from the glass. This side towards the speaker here will be a lot more difficult to do because you can't really see it and hold the window at the same time. You'll have to kind of feel for it. Looks like I have this side in, but not this side. Both studs just fell in. They are in position. Put the mounting nuts back on to secure it. This one will be a little difficult to get to. If you can't reach your hand in here, you can always put it on with a socket through here. Just try not to drop it inside the door. That's not going to be fun to fish back out. Then I'm going to snug it up. Tighten this one up as well. And I only brought them close with the impact. I'm going to tighten them by hand at the end here. I don't want to accidentally crush anything down or send vibrations from the impact through the glass and potentially crack it. Let's get the vapor barrier back. I'm going to start right at the lock indicator, hook it up and over, and then just try to line it up with everything. Of course, make sure your wires are going through, and put it around the door handle, around the speaker. Unfortunately, mine doesn't really have much of its glue left over anymore, So I will just use some tape. Now if you can source some sort of glue for this, double-sided tape or a butyl tape, that would be great. But as long as you put it back on, that's what's most important. Because what this does is it prevents water from getting inside on the inside of the door panel and inside the cab through the window. So as long as this is on here to some extent, you should be good to go. Bring your door panel in and reconnect the connector. There we go, that clicked. Now take these wires, feed them through this hole where the window switch goes. Then take your door panel, line it up with the lock indicator over here. You want to make sure it comes up through the slot, and it just has a bunch of hooks all around. It doesn't have push clips that push in, so you're going to want to bring it up, press it up against the door and down, and naturally they should all lock in as long as they're lined up. So the way to check this is to just run your hand all along. If you don't feel any gaps, if this is what you see where the door panel is flush up against the door, you're good to go. Now at the bottom of the door, let's put the two 7mm screws back, start them in, and tighten them up. Once they get snug, don't crank on them because they only screw into plastic, so you'll strip the plastic out if you go too far. Right there. And the two right in the center of the door panel. Snug these up. These do go into metal, but you still want to be careful not to over tighten them. Okay, let's put this cover back in. You can see that it has hooks on the top and little tabs that lock in on the bottom. Snap that back in place. Now reconnect your window switch and the lock switch. Slide this down. It's going to have two metal locking clips here that have to line up with each corresponding hole. Tap it down. Same two metal clips for this that have to line up with the door right here. Once you line it up, tap it in place, and there you have it.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.